Holly Cotton here, and I have two guests today with me. I know we've got two guests, remix, and let me just warn you guys, I'm going to mess up their names. Well, not Acorye, but I'm going to mess up someone else's name, so bear with me, but I will have her correct us and tell us how to properly say her name so that way I don't constantly mess up her name the entire show. But just know I'm from the South and I don't know why I can't roll my tongue, but I just can't. So we connected. I'm super excited about a project that they have coming up. We'll get to all of that later, but first let me guys introduce you. First I have Acorye White, and he is an actor, director, screenwriter, and doing big things. I'm super excited. I'm glad I'm at the beginning of this journey so I can see all of the elevation that comes in the future. So welcome, Acorye.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. Thank you for having me.
All right, and now I have Patrycja Kepa, and don't worry, she's going to tell you guys how to say it. And first of all, tell us how to pronounce your name, and also because I know people are going to want to know where your name came from. So tell us about your background. But she is also a director and a screenwriter, and we're going to talk about this big project that they have right now. So name and also why it sounds so swanky.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Patrycja. So it is Polish. So that's kind of where the pronunciation, the Y and the J and the R come from. So there's a reason for it.
Right, right. I'm sad because my name is the most basic, unexciting name ever. Holly Cotton. You can't get any more boring than that. But that's okay. That's okay. So, all right. So, like I said, you guys have a big project that's coming out right now, and we're going to talk about your movie, the premiere, all of that stuff. But first, I wanted to kind of get into the background because you guys are young, and to be coming out with something and being able to say that you guys are a screenwriter, to say you're a director, a producer, an actor, like those are a lot of notorious titles to have. So can you guys kind of go into how you even came on this path?
You can go
Go
first.
for it. Well, for me, I was in college and I was playing football, and I got a chance to act. At first, I kind of just brushed it aside, like, oh, I'm a football player. I'm never going to do that. And lo and behold, I had the opportunity again. I took a class, fell in love with it, and started my acting journey back in 2014. And then along that journey, I've always wanted to create my own stories because I was a writer as a kid. And this gave me a platform to do so as my career kind of started to take off, and started writing screenplays. Wrote about 7 or 8 movies before we actually did this one together. And yeah, this is just the journey for us that start something different than the acting, to kind of make it full circle for me. So started a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a little more unorthodox. I wrote a lot when I was a kid. English is not my first language, so I used writing and reading as kind of a way to become more familiar with it, and I kind of fell in love with it. But then I kind of fell into that trap of kind of like meeting other people's expectations. So I got a business degree. I pursued a consulting career, but then meeting Acorye, he kind of opened my eyes up to a different world where I can kind of pursue the more creative side of myself and kind of pursue the writing, pursue the directing, and it's kind of something I fell into in association with kind of meeting the people and kind of falling in love with the set and kind of what movies bring about. So, yeah.
Okay, I love that, and I think I say that all the time. Anytime you hear me talking, I always talk about following your passions, and sometimes your passions are explored or ignited in a totally different path that you were on before. So you were like, I'm going down this path, and I'm supposed to be on the yellow brick road, but something told me to get off, and now I actually have this whole other life because I did follow what it was. So I love that anytime someone is following whatever it is that's like burning inside of them, because if you don't at least attempt it, it's going to haunt you forever. So I love that you guys are doing that, and then that you connected. And that's one of the questions that I wanted to talk to you, or to ask you about, Okore, is that I know that we had kind of talked yesterday, so I just wanted to bring that back. But we were talking about you and success and how you wanted to implement having a team whenever you started this project and how important that is to you. And I think you can see it, like you said, you guys figured out teamwork is the best way to go. But can you tell us about whenever you being the person that was the top of the pyramid here and how you figured out how to branch that out into creating a team of people that felt like everyone was equal?
Yeah, yeah. For me, it kind of started when I was on a movie set, and actually Juanita. It was the first movie I did with stars, I would say, uh, and I noticed when I came on set at that point, they spoke to me differently. They treated me differently. We ate at separate tables than the extras and PAs. And me having the business mind I've always had is like, why is this like that? And me wanting to be so inclusive and caring about other people, I was like, okay, one day I'm going to create my company where I can be the person that makes the decisions to include everybody, kind of get to know everybody. Because I think your team is better when you know the weaknesses of each person. And most, I think, executives kind of scoot that part out. I was like, oh, I don't really care. You're here to make me money, so let's do that. So when you go at this approach, when we did the movie, I talked to her about it. I was like, hey, this is the first year our company's really about to take off. So let's make sure we do this. And she was spot on with me. Like, hey, I love that approach. I'm all about it. Let's do it. And another thing is women in the film or in any business usually are like, okay, you just step aside. Like you're beneath me. And I never wanted her to feel like that or any other woman that worked for or with me. Which is like, I like to say, you forget I'm the boss. When we're on set, like no one should ever know I'm in charge until it has to be that way. And that's what we did with this movie set. We told everyone we hired, like, hey, there's an expectation that I have, that she has, and it's just being respectful, being nice. Like, I don't care if you're the PA or you're the first AD, you're still going to be a part of a team. And if one person messes that up, it'll just make the bad experience for everyone. So just hiring everyone with that thought in sight and then proving that once we got on set changed everything. So when we did our movie, we ate together, we spoke during the meetings and dinners, and even on weekends. This has never been done on movie sets. We personally barbecued for people, we cooked for them, and then invited them over with their significant others. So we had a bonding experience. So when we were off, we still took care of people. And now when people ended, they're like, man, I don't want to leave. It was like a vacation. It never felt like work. And that's the method that we're trying to lead with is we do movies, we make great movies, but we also have great people, and we care. And that's kind of how we got there.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And yes, I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of not just when we're working on something, but how you want to be remembered. What is the impact that you're having? Because you're going to have an impact on someone. You're going to be remembered some kind of way. So how is it that you want people to remember working with you? And actually, it's so funny because when I went to LA, I was having a conversation with someone, and he's an actor and a producer and all of these things. And he was telling me about he was going with this other role or not role, but he was on a project, and so all the way to the top, they wanted him to be the director. They all the way to the top, and then whenever they finally at the end, he had a bad experience with someone from another set, and she was actually one of the determining people that where he didn't get that whatever, it didn't work out or whatever. But he was just saying like he had one interaction with this person, and she took that 10 years later and she's still basically like spitting on his name from that one experience. So I think it's very important to that what you guys are doing, but also that you're explaining why that is the process that you're going through, because you want to have this legacy of continuing to work and all of these great things that you guys are doing. So
Yeah.
let's talk about because I know everyone is excited because they're saying, okay, so who are these people? What they doing? Because you guys, we have a funny story we're going to share about when Acorye and Patrycja went to a movie theater and how they just thought they were some basic Houstonian people. So we're gonna make them tell that story because it's so funny. But can you tell us about the new project that you have? And I will tell you guys, I did watch the movie. If you know me, you know I'm a scaredy cat. I'm always afraid. I'm the person that gets up in the middle of the movie to go to the restroom when it gets scary, or anyone wants something to drink. So a few times I was kind of like, okay, this is getting kind of intense for me. So tell us the name of your movie, that and kind of give us the background of it and what the movie is about, all of that stuff.
Yeah. So the name of the movie is Trinket Box, and it follows kind of two parallel worlds. So it follows a period piece element. So it happens in the 1930s in the South, and it follows kind of a young relationship between a young black boy and a young white girl, and that kind of then is reflected in the main relationship that we see in the story, which is an interracial couple, a newlywed couple that kind of move into a house, and they kind of think that, oh, this is great, this is phenomenal, we have a new beginning, new start, and it's very unassuming. But as we kind of continue with the story, kind of the parallels of the past that we saw, kind of the tragedy that happened there, start to kind of haunt the present. And the evil and the paranormal activity kind of creeps in via that trinket box.
Yeah. And that's all we got to tell you.
That's all we got to tell you.
I was like, okay, that's too much. That's too much, Patrycja. That's too much. That's too much. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. They need to be able to have to get tormented like I did, where I didn't watch any trailers. I just went in straight cold, and I was like, what did I sign up for? They didn't know I was a scaredy cat. Oh my gosh. So I love it. I love it. And so one of the things I know you guys said that being screenwriters and English and writing and all of these other things that built you to where this was the path that you came across. But how do you actually sit down and come up with a plot that you are going to make into a movie? Because that's a big thing. I write funny stories all the time, but I'm not making it into a movie. So how do you get from the thought process to actually writing it down and then deciding, you know what, this is the one that I want to make into a movie?
Yeah. I think this one, Trinket Box, was interesting. Yeah. Most of the scripts I've written before would take me about a month, 2 weeks to a month to kind of really get out there once I have the whole thing designed and kind of figure out where I want to go, outline, and just start writing. But Trinket Box, which is the first time we're actually putting this story out there, came from stress and being used. So we were at a position where we were raising money for another project. And once we got them a certain amount of money, which was like 3 times what they initially had, they came to us and they're like, hey guys, we want to kind of cut you out of the deal now. Like, we want to kind of take your percentages and give them to like our family members. And we're like, so all the work we put in, where's this coming from? But at first we let it slide, and then I have a problem when a male comes at a female that works for me, especially when I'm close. I just don't like it. And they just said the magic words of like, well, we can just take Patrycia's points and give them away. And little do they know, she's doing even more work than me. So we got so frustrated because this was like the second or third time someone tried to use us for like their benefit. And we were just sitting down one day like, you know what? We should write our own movie. And we had no money, $0. And we were like, you know what do people love? Romance, love, and horror. And literally from that moment, we were like, let's just start writing right now. We're going to do 7 to 10 pages a day. We're going to crank this out in a week. And we actually did that.
In like 6 days.
In 6 days, we had the first draft.
We kept alternating. Like, I wrote the first 10 pages, and then he wrote some pages, and then we wrote together. So it was just kind of a lot of back and forth. We wrote on our walks. Like, we would walk, and like we would be typing on like the like on the apps, and it was just really bizarre times to write.
We literally took 5-mile walks every day at a park and just spoke. And the thing we knew is like she was a female voice, and I was a male voice. And when you kind of talk it out, it's a lot easier when you're closer. You kind of can think like each other. So before we knew it, we did that first draft in 6 days. We sent it out to like get it reviewed to see what Hollywood would think about it. Like, oh, well, this is great, but this, and we said, okay, look, let's make the adjustments. We did another week of it, not really a full week. And then we had the whole first draft, and we asked people on set, like, oh, how long do you guys think we took to write this? And people were like 5 years, 2 years, 3 years. I'm like, I haven't been knowing her but a year. So it was great at that time. So that's how it came about. We just we're so frustrated that we just used what we had. And then once we did that, we just went into our resources, and no one came in. Like, it was very disappointing that everybody that was going to invest for the other people, by the time we wanted them to invest in us, no one wanted to at all. And it was just us reaching out to family members and friends. And before we knew it, like, we had enough to do it with just like my cousin, her parents, and like a couple other friends that we knew. So that was it. And we just did this.
Well, I can tell you, nothing makes you more productive than hurt feelings. You get your feelings hurt, you get mad about something, boy, you get more productive than ever in life. You're like, oh. So sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. You know, it's like, oh, that's how we doing it? Bet.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that. And so Trinket Box is coming. So tell us about like how this whole process is, because you know I know people are interested. So you like you said, you started making the movie, you figured out the budgeting, the staffing, how to do all of these different steps. So at the end, how did you get from now we're finished with the production and now we're actually going to start screening our movie in theaters?
It was a kind of a learning curve for us, because again, we've never done this before. So we did so much research and so much YouTubing and so much just Googling and stuff, because we were like, how do we do this, and how do we do it right, and how do we not choose the wrong company, the wrong person, the right representation, because we don't want to lose. Especially since our family was so heavily involved, we're like, we don't want to just give away this project and then nothing happens. It's just another film that sits on a shelf. So we're like, how can we be the most productive company and like make this happen? So we actually we attended American Film Market in November 2022. So that is again, just for context, like one of the biggest film markets in the world. A bunch of like over thousands and thousands of companies from across the world come together to like screen movies and watch movies and exchange kind of information and kind of just network and get that kind of understanding from one another. So that is where we met our sales agent. So
because we went in with the thought of like, we just need someone to watch this movie and love it, and also a sales agent that we use our business approach. How can we get more eyes on the film? We have to find someone international. Now that's a long try, finding someone that was successful. But we got very fortunate that we had a team that represented the UK and France, and also had a hub in the US, LA. So I'll just let you jump back and forth.
And so that was like really helpful. But again, it was a process. It was like knocking on doors, hotel rooms, just be like, hey, can you look at us? Can you watch this teaser? So we developed that relationship, but in the meantime, we also started doing a lot more research about theatrical distribution. So like there's different rights when it comes to movies, and there's like the streaming, the like advertised video on demand, all of this stuff. And so we were like, we really want to maintain our theatrical rights in the US. We really want to make sure that the money that we get from the US theaters, we kind of keep for ourselves, for our own business, to keep growing so that we can fund our own movies and keep kind of like this virtuous cycle going, so that we don't have to depend on other people. Because we did come into a lot of issues during this film.
And some of the companies that we reached out to in the beginning that gave us offers, they're like, oh yeah, we can put your movie into 1 to 3 theaters. And I'm like, I talked to her, and at first it wasn't easy convincing her because she's very risk averse. This whole movie getting her involved was like a task. But I think she's happy now, and she saw me working hard, and it made her work harder and understand that I wasn't going to give up. And I knew she needed to see that from me. But at that point, I came to her. I'm like, hey, what about self-theatrical distribution? And she looked at me with the craziest look. Like, what do you mean self-theatrical distribution? I'm like, well, we can get our own theater rights, and I will call every single theater owner if we can get a list, and like, let's just do it. Because if we get it, think about that. Like, we understand that there's a distribution company in the middle process. There's us, there's distribution, and then there's the theater cut. The theaters are going to take 50 to 60%. If not more. Then the distributors are going to take 30%. And then we'll get money back. Well, how about we just take out the distributor and turn our company into a theatrical distributor, and then it's us in the theaters. And that's what we end up doing. And literally, I'm telling you, we'll be up to like 3, 4, or 5 in the morning. Her clock is like at 1, she's out. So I'm up like 4 or 5 o'clock, just still reaching out, sending emails. And then we just got Regal. And then we got Star Cinema Group. And then we got Marcus Theaters. And before we knew it, we were in like 3 of the top 5 theater chains. So it's just doing the work. Everybody wants what we did, but they don't want to put the work in.
And it's not easy because both of us have like, again, we're independent filmmakers. So like I have another job. He works intermittent jobs. He's still an actor. Like we have other things that we're trying to do. So for us, it was just like, we have to prioritize this and make sure that it comes out and that we get it out there and that we do the best that we can. Cause it's just a 2-person team. It's just us right now.
Well,
so that's the long.
Yeah. And I think that's really important that you guys are saying that, because I think a lot of us, which I used this analogy not too long ago when I was talking to someone. I said, we're all wheels and everyone is rolling in life. And so, we're on this path and we're like, oh, I need to get there. So we're trying to get there by ourselves, and we can roll. But whenever we're on a car, when there's 4 of us rolling together, a bicycle, 2 wheels even, you can go much faster and further than a unicycle whenever you have more wheels that are there. So I think it's important that you guys were saying that you realize these are some of the things that you have that you do great, and these are some of the things that I do great. But when we're together, we can go so much further. And the more people that we have that are going in the same aligned direction we are, the greater we can be. So I think that's so important. I always talk about proximity. I always talk about who's in your circle, because the people around you, if they're a square and you're trying to go circle, you're going to stop me from doing what I need to do. So I love that. And I love that you guys are talking about the team and all of that. It makes me, I value that so much. So I'm glad that you're talking about that. And so what I wanted to kind of just piggyback on what you were talking about, how you've seen the success and how you see these small successes and you're like, oh, wow, this is another accomplishment. This is another something. So I know that success is something that's very personal to you. And I know, Acorye, you were telling me kind of like your youth and some of the things and how not only are you taking these successes for yourself, but that you guys also have a social cause that you are holding passion for as well. So can you tell us about what it is that you guys are doing for the community and what your plans are and why that is so personal to you?
Let me take this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with the social impact, when I was a kid, I remember, I think I was 9. Me and my mother, like I bounced around a lot as a kid. So my father was never there. Mother, I think I lived with a total of 5 years my whole life. But I grew up with my grandmother heavily with her. And when I wasn't with her as my mom or a godparent, like I was just around. But the thing I noticed is like we were homeless a couple of times when I would go with my mother. And I was like, okay, so we're living in a hotel, we're sleeping in the car. Okay, I figured out early on, like this is different. But it made me aware of other people on the streets. So most kids don't see someone homeless on the street. It's like, oh, it's a person. You don't understand what it is. I immediately started making the connection, like, oh, they're like us. And I would ask my mother, like, hey, can we pick up these homeless people on the street? And she's like, you can't pick up the homeless people. They're just homeless. They got to figure out their way. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, one day I'm going to find a way to fix it. And I didn't know this at the time. Again, I was 9. But 20 years later, I'm at the point where I'm like, it never left me. And in the back of my mind, I had 2 things always, like, figure out a way to take care of your grandmother, and then from there you can figure out your brothers and your mom, and then homeless. You have to figure out a way to end homelessness. So it sounds crazy, and I always tell people. I was with her professor one time, and they invited us to her home, and I remember her saying to me when I brought it up, she's like, "Oh, that is amazing, but there's always someone in that room that wants to be like, you can't do that. it's impossible. And I never forget, a guy said to me, who's supposed to be quote unquote so smart, you can't do that. It's impossible. I'm like, it's impossible. Okay. At one point, could we ever fly? Was it possible to fly from one state to the other, let alone one country to the other? He's like, no. I said, was it possible to flip on a light switch and cut on thousands of lights in a building? He said, no. I said, you know why it's possible? Someone was bold enough to try. And then as time came, people took what they did and made it bigger and elevated it. So I said, that's what I'm doing with homelessness. I know I can't do it all on my own. But if I start it and I figure out a plan of what I want to do, which is putting a homeless shelter that not just brings people in to sleep, we bring you in, we figure out what's the cause of the homelessness. If you want to be, not homeless anymore, and we start changing those individuals' lives so that by the time I die, one of my goals is to have that homeless shelter that really makes a difference in each and every state, so that I know that when I leave, someone else will continue that on. Hopefully my kids or our kids or whatever it is would take that on, because it means something to change that many lives. And because it's gonna be a domino effect. So we realize with this project, we can start including it with the apprenticeship program. And I'll let her elaborate on the apprenticeship program.
So another portion of it was like, again, that's like a very long-term goal. So we were like, what can we do now to start making change? What is something feasible where we can kind of leverage the platform of the film industry on our sets?
Yeah.
So we kind of thought about it. We're like, okay, can we bring in some of these homeless high school students, and kind of bring them on set as apprentices? Because in Alabama and Georgia alone, which is where we're based, there's over 16,000 homeless college students. That's a huge number. That's an unbelievable number. That almost seems unreal at points. And we're like, how can we change that? And again, the film industry, even if it's not someone like main career, it's a great jumping point. It's a great thing to have on your resume. It's a great way to start. And we're like, we want to incorporate these kids. We want to have an interview process. And although maybe at the beginning, is just a few, by the time we have a big production, we can have 20, 30, even 50 kids kind of on there working with us, because we don't only want to give them like job training, but also housing during that time, support. How do we build longevity into their kind of support system and make sure they're taken care of not only during the 2 months on set, but also the time after? So for us, we're kind of trying to strategize and collaborate with nonprofits and kind of figure out a way to make it a tangible solution, a tangible kind of resource for kids who kind of want it, and how do we seek them out and stuff like that. So that's kind of our short term and what we're trying to do with our next feature. So we're kind of in the works of ramping that up right now.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'm glad that you are bringing the awareness to that. When I have children, and I'm always threatening to throw them out, but I'm not. But like you said, and even like you were saying, Acorye, like growing up, you're living with other grandparents, you're living with other people. And I think that people don't realize how common that is. I recently also did something with these social justice reform people, and they were talking about all the incarcerated parents and how people, one, they're wrongfully incarcerated, and two, the lives of the children that are leaving. And a lot of people don't realize the impact that all it takes is one thing. Like you guys said, I think it was you, Patrycia, that was saying it was a domino effect. And it's like one bad thing can happen, and now a whole nother path is there in life. So you're on a whole different tangent. So I love that you guys are bringing awareness to that, because I think that we're always worried about the older group. We are, either it's the little kids or the elderly, but there's this whole other part of life that you have to live in for 40 years. And it might start at 15 or 16 and you're still 30 and you're dealing with it, but you're not in either of those categories, so no one cares. So I think that's very important, that you guys are doing that. Okay, so to close out, Patrycia, it's Women's History Month, and I want to end with you. So tell us about how people can follow and support you, and also give us a sneak peek into any future projects that you guys are working on.
Yeah, so you all can follow us on social media. So we have at Trinket Box Film It's both on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We have the hashtag Trinket Box Films, so you can see all the related posts that we're sharing. We have we also have a website, trinketboxfilm.com, and we really wanted to promote our giveaway because, again, being a social impact company, for us, it's important to give back to the community. So for the entire month of April, which is when we're screening, we are giving away $100 every day to someone. If you just come up and purchase a ticket, just take a photo, share it on social media, and you're entered into the giveaway. At the end of April, we're giving away the grand prize of $1,000 to anyone who over the month of April had submitted that picture or just posted online. So that's a huge part of what we're doing, and we hope that people come and enjoy the film and, maybe win some money for just going to see a movie. So.
Hey, I love it. You know how much money I've spent in movies and I have never gotten a giveaway for anything. So that's Trinket, TRINKETBOX. So everything that she said, for anyone that's listening to the audio, because you can listen to Beyond the Fit in your cars and everything else. So I think that is important. They might not know how to say trinket. So I just wanted to say everything that they say, Trinket Box, Trinket Box, Trinket Box. So that's how you spell Trinket Box. So I'm super excited. I can't wait for you guys to go and see the movie. And when is the actual release date for the movie, The Trinket Box?
So
it premiered on the 30th, this Thursday,
yeah.
And then it releases everywhere on the 31st.
Okay, so March 31st is the official release date where everyone can start buying their tickets.
Yeah. Oh, you can start buying right now.
Well, I meant actually go into a regular theater and see it. I'm sorry. Yeah, buy in advance so we can know that we can count you in now already. I love that. So at the end of my shows, I always have something called a life check. If you've read my book Day One, you know that a life check is basically a way to reiterate anything that we've talked about before and kind of make sure we touch on some pertinent points. And so today's life check is really, really simple. I just wanted to say that, success is always based on your productivity, your motivation. A lot of times we think that we can't do something and we see someone else doing it and we think, oh, they're smarter, or oh, they're better, or oh, they have something else that I don't have. But no, that person just pushed past the point of where most of us stop when they hit that resistance, or when they got that obstacle, they continue going. They found another way to get to that end point. So as you see with these, screenwriters, producers, actors, all these great things that they're doing now, all it took was for them to believe in themselves, push past the point where most people would stop. And now they are finally having their movie premiere, and you guys are part of this process. So I love that. And I will have all of your information in the podcast notes as well. So be sure to follow, subscribe, and make sure you guys go see Trinket Box on March 31st, 2023. Thank you, guys.